Hello and welcome to today's program, Your Questions Answered with Father Gruner. I'm John Vennari. We take your questions that you send to us via email. We discuss them. Father Gruner answers them. And please keep sending us your questions at questions@thefatimacenter.com. We have a question today about what's called the Cardinal Siri theory. Cardinal Siri was wondering if any of your team at the Fatima Center was aware of the events surrounding Cardinal Siri and the, shall we say, perplexing election which took place in 1958.
Simply, but it's possible he was elected, but to be elected, it requires two things. Of course, one is to have the 2/3 of the cardinals plus one vote for you, legitimately in a conclave. And the second thing is for you to accept the election. Now, apparently, the first part of the conditions were met in as much as he was elected. But it's the second part which makes him the Pope. After being elected, he has to say, I accept.
Yes.
Okay.
It's like the I do.
What you are seeing now is the very clear emission of white smoke that appeared on October 26, 1958, 2 days before the election of John the 23rd. It is precisely at this moment that it is believed that Cardinal Siri became Pope. And that is what the white smoke signifies, that we have a new Pope. It does not signify that we have elected someone and we are waiting for him to decide whether he wants the position or not. Nor is it a ceremonial thing or a formality. The white smoke is a signal, and it told us that that there was a new Pope. And it's just the same as if you drive up to a traffic stop and you see a red light that tells you to stop or a green light that tells you to go. So I think John Vennari and Father Gruner are being a little intellectually dishonest here and saying that he might have been elected but he didn't accept it, because obviously someone did accept. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any white smoke.
First of all, I remember meeting one of the leading sedevacantists from France, and I wasn't the only meeting. I was at a meeting of these people. There's about, I would say, 25 or so, 30 of them. There were about 40 of us in this meeting. I was happy to be one of these people. And of course, my position was known, as their position was known, and we were interested, to hear what each other had to say. So it's fair enough. We're all in pursuit of the truth. That's what we're all here about. Well, this gentleman told me the story, not, as I say, not just myself, but he told a number of people the story, that he met Cardinal Siri. I think it would be towards the end of his life. I would say 1989. I might have the year wrong, but sometime around there. And so this man who's been promoting Cardinal Siri as the Pope and having won this election and so forth, asked Cardinal Siri, and he says, by the way, as a Frenchman, he says, Cardinal Siri spoke French very well. I can imagine. He was a cardinal of Genoa. It's only a couple of hours drive away from the French border. And a lot of cardinals have linguistic abilities, and no doubt Cardinal Siri did. So he says he spoke French very well. So he asks the question of this cardinal in French, Cardinal Siri, were you elected Pope? And so the answer, the description, I'm not a very good actor, but I would try and give you the description. What happened was, so he said, immediately Cardinal Siri put both his hands over his face and put his head down, and he held this position for several minutes. And then he got up and took his hands away. And the Frenchman describes this, in those 2 minutes, he aged 20 years. And then the answer was given by Cardinal Siri. He said, I can't answer that question because I'm bound by the conclave vow of secrecy. And so I stopped right there. I said, that proves it. I said, if he were the Pope, he could break the conclave secret. He has that power.
He's not bound by the vow.
He's not bound by the vow. He's bound by the vow. He's never Pope. Now, not saying he wasn't elected, but he's not Pope.
Yeah.
End of discussion for this theory. But
again, Father Gruner is failing to see events in their proper context. Cardinal Siri went to visit a man by the name of Louis Hubert Remy, who I believe Father Gruner is talking about in this story. The interview was recounted in an article in 1985 entitled "The Pope, Could He Be Cardinal Siri?" What they asked Cardinal Siri, were you elected Pope? All Cardinal Siri had to say to that question was, no, I wasn't, unless he had been indeed elected Pope, which, from his reaction, I would conclude that he was, just as obviously the men who were there concluded that he was. Now you have a cardinal who was expected to become Pope in 1958, now indirectly admitting that he was elected, and we have a white signal from 2 days before the election of John 23rd, telling everyone that there was a new Pope. On top of this, we have the testimony of the Vietnamese priest, Father Quad, who went to see Cardinal Siri in 1988, asked him if he was Pope, and reported that Cardinal Siri was indeed the lawful Pope as of 1958. We have testimony from Father Jean-Marie Charles Roux, who was there in 1958, saying that Siri was elected and forced aside without actually abdicating. He mentions that there was a fight at the stove, which explains the strange signals that appeared on October 26, 1958. Anyhow, as far as Cardinal Siri saying that he was bound by the secret, first of all, he may not have been referring to the Conclave secret. He could have been referring to the seal of the confessional. If one of the conspirators had come to him in the confessional and confessed what they had done in order to bind him to secrecy regarding the matter. However, a more simple explanation would be that Cardinal Siri simply did not expect to be asked that question. He was put on the spot regarding a very, very serious matter that he couldn't just speak freely about. So he made up an excuse.
I think, too, the subsequent history of Cardinal Siri would show that he wasn't a hidden pope, because he took part in, 2 conclaves after that. So he would be taking part in a conclave, being pope, pretending that he's not, giving public obeisance to men who he knows are not pope. You know, what sort of man was he?
I think John Vennari is losing sight of the main point here. First and foremost, it has to be determined whether Cardinal Siri did in fact become the Pope. After that's established, then we can analyze his actions afterwards and see if they were justified or not. However, I would like to make a few points here regarding that. And once they got Cardinal Siri to stand down at the 1958 election, once they had claimed the papacy, there wasn't a whole lot Cardinal Siri could do. And without a reasonable chance of victory, the best thing that he could probably do is to wait for the next election, seeing that John the 23rd was already 78 years old, and to play nice until that point. Because the media was fawning all over John the 23rd. Plus, I don't think that Catholics at the time would have responded very well to something like that, particularly since Cardinal Siri was virtually unknown outside of Genoa, Italy. When the papacy was stolen from Innocent II by Anacletus II, Innocent II ran away to France for 7 or 8 years and hid until he was aided by St. Bernard in getting the throne of Peter back again. So it's quite possible that Cardinal Siri simply did not have an opportunity to regain the papacy as Innocent II did so many years ago. But again, this will have to be determined after we establish whether or not Cardinal Siri did become Pope.
And so anyway, there's a lot to talk about on this Cardinal Siri theory, but I think the point that you made, that the fact that he himself says, I'm bound by the secret, is dead proof right there. That this is not a theory that we take seriously. So